The movie starts with an airplane scene where the main lead, Rima, and her student Bong are heading towards the United States for a mysterious case. A newborn baby has been crying non-stop since birth and doctors are clueless about the reason behind it. When they arrive, Rima senses something amiss and asks the baby's mother if there are any other patients like him at home. They look shocked, revealing that the grandfather is also facing the same issue as the newborn. When they reach the victim's home, it's clear the family is extremely wealthy by the look of their property. They meet the baby's father, Park Ji-young, who reveals that his big brother committed suicide in a mental hospital, and afterward he started experiencing strange phenomena whenever he closes his eyes and sometimes have the feeling of being choked. This problem has now extended to his newborn baby. Rima informs him that she saw a dark shadow upon entering the house, which surpasses the family's bloodline, and she is certain it belongs to his grandfather. To solve the problem, they must rebury or cremate the grandfather's coffin. Another lead in the movie is a geomancer named Kim Sang-deuk, and the other is Young Gan, a mortician. They gather at the burial site where Mr. Kim senses something amiss despite the location being perfect for burial. He tastes the soil and discovers it's fresh, indicating a good spirit. However, when they examine the belongings, they notice the grandmother's teeth are missing, taken by her grandson as a memory. This is why she has been disturbing them in their dreams. Meanwhile, the shamans arrive in Korea to meet with Mr. Kim and Young for a business deal. They mention that they're making a considerable amount of money from their work. Kim agrees as he needs money for his daughter's marriage. Park has also come to Korea for the cremation. Surprisingly, Mr. Park is not forthcoming about his family's background details and wants to complete the cremation quickly. They head to the grave site, sensing bad vibes upon arrival, and notice the presence of many foxes, a bad sign at a tomb site. The tomb is simple, which is unusual for Mr. Park's prestigious family background. Park explains it might be because of grave robbers at the time. The tombstone bears no name, only numbers, which are longitude and latitude coordinates. Kim finds the soil not good as he tastes it and steps back, saying he has never seen such a bad place in his 40 years of experience. During the investigation, Mr. Kim asks about the monk who performed the burial ritual. The name Qi Shunai is unfamiliar. Kim mentions it's dangerous to move the grave from an evil place. Upon returning to Park Hotel, he tries to convince Mr. Kim as his child was on deathbed. Where Rima also told him that we can't leave the baby in this condition as there has been 2 previous miscarriages. To escape the negative consequences, they came up evil replacing technique while moving the tomb. The next day, as planned, they employed a technique involving evil substitution, bringing in 5 pigs and 5 workers born in the year of the pig and spiritually connected to pigs. This way, if anything went wrong, the evil spirits would attack the pigs instead of the people. Meanwhile, Mr. Park's aunt also arrived. The shaman arrives at the scene and channels a different energy. Her assistants help her dress and she goes to choose a knife, randomly throwing it. Meanwhile, Bong-gil takes his position, starts chanting mantras and beats the drums. With the power of the mantras slowly taking over, Rima begins to perform a ritual dance, which includes dancing with knives and performing various stunts like stabbing her throat and cutting her face. With vibrant energy, she becomes more vigorous, dancing and rolling her hands more powerfully. She approaches the fire, puts her hand in it, draws a mark on her face, and then takes the knife to cut the pig. At this point, Park, being part of the bloodline connected to the grave, initiates the digging of the grave with the help of workers. The environment becomes increasingly frightening as she drinks raw blood during the rituals. Parallel to this, the workers were digging the tomb. Upon examining the tomb, the coffin appeared very antique and royal. They took the coffin for cremation, and the workers continued digging, searching for valuable objects. Suddenly, one worker saw a snake and killed it. But it was no ordinary snake, it was a Neurona, a snake with female head, a Japanese yokai or ghost. Because of that, the atmosphere suddenly changed and it began to rain. In Korea, cremations are not performed on rainy days, as it is believed the soul does not go to a good place. So they agreed to store the coffin in a nearby hospital, which turned out to be a big mistake. Mr. Kim goes to a temple, where he noticed while visiting the site to learn more about the tomb. Upon inquiry, he found that the monk Qi Shunai was unknown. He learned that high-ranking individuals were buried in high mountains to protect their graves from robbers. The monk showed him the utensils left by the robbers in the temple. As everything was going according to plan, a hospital worker opened the coffin, hoping to find treasure, but instead released a bad spirit, which passed through Ijawiyaba. Due to the strong bad spirit, she fell to the ground, starts bleeding even after coming to consciousness. The scene shifted to America, where the grandfather disclosed his hatred for his family for not visiting him for 100 years and killed his son and daughter-in-law. Next in line was his grandson. As soon as Mr. Kim was informed about the situation, he tried to reach Mr. Park. Knowing the risk, they immediately arrange an emergency ritual to call the spirit. They gather all the necessary elements, including a fish, alcohol, and a drum. The shaman also drinks the alcohol as part of the ritual. The spirit was trying to kill his grandson after having already killed his son and daughter-in-law. Meanwhile, Bong Gil is tied up by the young men so that the spirit inside him doesn't harm the shaman. They start the ritual by chanting mantras and beating drums. As the ritual progresses, Bong Gil begins to jump, allowing the spirit to take over his body. While the spirit was about to haunt his grandson, it had to leave because the mantras forced it into Bong Gil's body. When asked why he was harming his own family, the spirit said he would destroy his bloodline one by one, which he started by killing his son. Now it was Mr. Park's turn, by saying that he leaves Bong Gil's body. Park received a call from Mr. Kim instructing him not to open the door but to open the window. Through the window, his great-grandfather entered and possessed him. In reality, Kim hadn't called him, it was the spirit, and the one banging on the door was actually Mr. Kim. Park began acting unusually, vomiting and drinking a lot of water, and turned his head more than 90 degrees, saying Fox scratched the tiger's waist and collapsed. There was no other option but immediate cremation, because the spirit was after his last bloodline. Mr. Kim called the daughter for permission, and the cremation was performed immediately. The baby was safe, but unfortunately his father couldn't survive and died on the spot. Just when everyone thought things had settled, the story took a thrilling turn. One day, Mr. Kim received a call from the worker who had killed the snake. The worker reported seeing unusual and disturbing things with blood dribbling instead of tears. Kim returned to the site and began digging. He unearthed the head of the near on a snake with a female head. Digging further, he discovered another coffin, larger than usual and buried vertically. The coffin was tied to iron spikes, indicating it wasn't ordinary. When they removed the coffin, foxes nearby behaved strangely. They decided to spend the night at the temple for safety. Shabirima drew protective lines of rice and horse blood. Kim called Mr. Park's aunt, asking about the past. She denied knowledge, but Mr. Kim confronted her, suggesting she was hiding her father's betrayal. Shocked, the aunt revealed that Park's grandfather had aided the Japanese government in taking over Korea, resulting in wealth and property still enjoyed by his descendants. She shared a picture of her father with Japanese dignitaries, with a kitsune in the background. Kim speculated about potential punishment from the Korean government for his betrayal and cursed burial site. The aunt revealed the monk was Japanese, known as Murayama Junji, and they will never do such thing to her father's tomb, as he showed loyalty to Japan. Meanwhile, Hajiwarima, asleep, seemed scared, conversing with her deceased grandmother's soul. Bong Gil experienced the nightmare of a priest atop him, claiming that someone had eaten his liver. He used a mantra to escape sleep paralysis, discovering the creature had been eating pigs' livers and those of caretakers and priests. Bong Gil contacted Hawarima, but her grandmother's soul intervened. They found the coffin broken and the ceiling was damaged. Exploring the coffin, Hawarima found a samurai hat, encountering the creature outside the gate. Terrified, she bowed, claiming servant of his daughter. After a brief communication in Japanese, he orders her to bring sweet fish as the pig liver didn't satisfy him. When he hears no response, he realizes she is human and starts to attack her. In the meantime, Bong Gil comes to her protection and stabs the creature, but it barely affects him. The creature retaliates by pulling Bong Gil with one hand, smashing his face and attacking him with a spike-like hand in the stomach. As the beast goes after Hirima, but couldn't do anything to her as there was a monk's pagoda behind which protects her. The creature chants some mantras, transforms into a ball of fire and vanishes. After the incident, they rush Bong Gil to the hospital, where his surgery is successful. However, due to severe blood loss and spinal damage, they are advised to move him to a bigger hospital. In this moment, Harinima cries in regret, feeling guilty that she couldn't save him despite being his senior. Kim returned to the scene, sensing something missing in the puzzle. He recalled the phrase the possessed Park uttered. The fox has cut off the tiger's waist. Investigating further, he discovered a book and a photograph depicting a group of men with utensils labeled "Our land, my comrades." Examining the book closely, he found drawings of yin-yang symbols and other energy elements. Here we meet two new characters, Horima's sisters, who are also shamans. They believe that a dark spirit has possessed Bong Gil. Performing rituals at the hospital, they attempt to awaken the spirit within him, offering bread as a lure, but instead it demands sweet fish. In further conversation, Hajiwarima seeks to understand the spirit inhabiting Bong Gil's body. It claims to be a lord who killed 10,000 warriors, ascended to godhood, and serves as a general of a certain place, randomly mentioning the numbers 383,417 and 1,283,189. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim heads to the mountains with the utensils belonging to the robber gang, each inscribed with the owner's name. Returning to the gravesite, he discovers another creature precisely at the coordinates 383417 latitude and 1283189 longitude. With mysteries unfolding, Mr. Kim explains to Young that according to Feng Shui, North Korea's shape resembles a tiger, and the coordinates engraved on the tombstone correspond to the location the spirit referred to as the tiger's waist. Recalling the fox demon on Myoji that Hajawarima mentioned, they realize it's the same place where there was a fox cub. In reality, the people being named as robbers were actually removing iron rods embedded by the fox demon in specific areas that disturbed Korea's energy flow, hampering its future prosperity. Where out of the 7 iron rods, 6 had been removed, leaving 1 unsolved. During brainstorming, they suspect someone is guarding this remaining rod. Young disagrees, wanting to stop the operation, as they've been lucky to remain unharmed. However, his master reminds him of the importance of securing the country's future for their descendants and saving their friend Bong-gil, possessed by the demon. They acknowledge the difficulty of eliminating such a powerful Japanese ghost but believe it can be contained temporarily. As Bong-gil's health deteriorates, doctors examine his wounds. Harima notices the demon didn't attack the areas tattooed with ancient mantras. They think up a plan to trap the demon on the mountain using sweet fish as a lure. Covered in temporary mantra tattoos, they proceed throwing the fish to distract the demon while Mr. Kim and Young attempt to remove the final iron rod. At the hospital, the sisters prepare to handle the consequences. Mantra papers are placed on doors and windows for protection, and they bring a hen to sacrifice in place of Bong-gil in case of danger. As midnight falls, the samurai demon awakens and begins eating the fish, falling into the trap. At the hospital, Bong-gil's corresponding responses alert the sisters. Harima lights a fire at the tree and hides behind it, assuming the appearance of a mountain god. The demon questions the absence of gunfire and swords, to which Harima responds that the war is over, though the demon passionately disagrees, claiming the war continues. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim and Young desperately search for the last iron rod but find nothing. The demon reveals that his head was beheaded in battle, but he controls his body, and due to an Onmyoji's curse, he forced him to guard the place. As the demon realizes Habirima's human voice, he gives chase, but her grandmother's spirit protects her. She rushes to the tomb to rescue Mr. Kim and Young, but the demon transforms into a fireball and attacks Mr. Kim, as the demon was ready to eat his liver. Kim was brainstorming the puzzle. Meanwhile, Hajwe and Young poured horse blood on the demon, causing it to suffer as if it were burning iron. In anger, the demon tried to choke Young and Hanjianima. At that moment, a flashback revealed that the demon fox had embedded a sword in its body, which it had used to kill thousands of people in the war. Its head was stitched and buried under the ground to guard the last iron rod. That's why the coffin was buried vertically instead of horizontally. Kim realized how to kill the beast. He remembered that fire, water, wood, and metal formed the 4 realms. Since the demon symbolized fire and the burning rod, he understood that soaked wood could counteract it. He stabbed the demon in the feet with soaked wood. The demon then came for Miss Kim, but he stabbed it in the chest, splitting it in 2 and defeating it. Back at the hospital, Bong-gil vomits black blood, indicating he is no longer possessed, and the hen is spared. Kim is rushed to the hospital. While every mysterious thing came to light, it was revealed that Park's grandfather was specifically buried there intentionally to protect the coffin underneath, which contained the last iron rod. This entire plan was devised by the fox demon 100 years ago, and the Park family and innocent ones had to pay the consequences. Despite the nightmare, life slowly returns to normal, though the incident continues to haunt them. Finally, Mr. Kim arranges his daughter's wedding. While taking a family photo, he invites all his work partners as they have experienced life and death situations together as a team.